Hey, welcome. I'm Susan Patang from the Quiet Zone Coaching, and today I want to talk about fear, the big paralyzer. There are a lot of emotions that can overwhelm us, and that can just be not just from bad things like divorce or the death of a loved one, but also from good things like getting married or having a baby. Today, we're going to talk about fear. And fear is where anxiety starts. That's the beginning. And I'm really oversimplifying this, but you start off with fear, and unresolved fear becomes anxiety, and unresolved anxiety becomes depression, and on and on and on. Okay. So if you're getting married, for example, okay, you might be afraid that something embarrassing is going to happen during the wedding, or that the wedding won't happen, or something like that. If you're having a baby, you might be afraid of the pain of labor. You might be afraid of the responsibility of having children. If something bad has happened, like a divorce or the death of a loved one, you might worry how you're going to get through this in one piece. You might be worried about how you're going to support yourself if you're only relying on your own income. How are you going to take care of your kids? And you might be afraid of being lonely. Right? I mean, isn't that what we all worry about? So if we respond to life events like this from a position of fear, we could sabotage ourselves. We could actually create the thing that we're trying to avoid in the long run. So how do we keep those emotions like fear from overwhelming us and paralyzing us? There are a lot of tools that you can use. There are a lot of ways to do that. But today, we're just going to talk about staying in the moment and having a plan, okay? And those two things might seem like they're the opposite of each other, right? So yeah, well, if I'm staying in the moment, how come I'm planning for the future? It doesn't seem to make sense, does it? But it does. It actually, the two actually go together really well, because staying in the moment just means being focused on what you're doing right now. Okay. Now, if you're planning for the future, well, make sure that you are sitting down and you are making a plan to address a problem that could arise, but you're focusing on that right now. You're not doing 12 things at once. You're focused on creating that plan. Okay. So being mindful, staying in the moment, and also creating a plan, those are two really key ways to reduce the stress and distress of fear. Okay. You want to engage in the process while you're doing it. So when you do have a plan, you're not carrying all of those fears and worries in the front of your mind. Okay. It is impossible to focus on what you're doing in the moment and enjoying it in the moment. Okay. And enjoying the moments of your life one after the other if you are constantly worried about something that may or may not happen in the future, or fear of how you're going to handle something. Okay. So what I want you to do is to take a moment to just create a very basic plan about how you're possibly going to handle that. Okay. Or create a plan to make a plan. So what I do is I actually imagine boxes. Okay, there's boxes in my brain. There are lots of shelves in my mind. And right now, let's say you're getting a divorce, okay? And I'm worried about how I'm going to support myself. Okay, so how do you know whether or not you're going to be able to support yourself? You make a budget, right? Okay, I'm going to make a budget. I'm going to see what I'm bringing in, how much I'm spending, and that's going to determine whether or not I have to get another job or do something different. So I'm going to put that whole mess. My plan is to create a budget. And worrying about whether or not I have enough money is going to go into the box along with the plan to create a budget, just to see how that's going to happen. Now, I don't have time to do that right now because I'm working or I'm doing whatever it is I'm doing at the moment. So I'm going to put it in the box, close the box up, and put it on the shelf. And I'm going to resolve to myself, okay, this weekend on Saturday, I'm going to take that box off the shelf, open it up, and I'm going to look at it. Okay, so what you're doing is you created a plan. Here's how I'm going to fix it. I'm going to put this in the box and just kind of put it on the shelf. I don't have to worry about that. Now, I'm going to worry about it when it's time. And that's part of being mindful. Do you remember that song, There's a Time for Everything, right? To Everything, Turn, Turn. Maybe you're not old enough to know that song, but the sentiment, it comes from the Bible. And it is saying about everything comes in the time it's supposed to be. So there is a time for everything. Create a time to take care of that problem, but that moment is not right now. Make a little plan. Here's how I'm going to deal with that. Put it in the box on the shelf. Okay. Back to fear. Okay, so let's identify what it is exactly that you're afraid of, because if you don't know what you're afraid of, you can't make a plan for it and can't put it on the box and put it on the shelf, right? Okay, so what is it? Is it something, is there something positive and constructive that you can do to prevent that thing you're afraid of from happening? How likely is it to happen? And if it does happen, is it going to change the weather on Jupiter? Really? I mean, is it going to change the course of your life? Well, maybe and maybe not. But you've been able to handle issues like this before, haven't you? Whatever it is that you're afraid of, chances are there's been a time in your life when you've had to deal with something that's just as important, just as worrying, just as big and scary. Okay, so you know that you will be able to, when the time comes, handle that problem. Put it all in the box. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm afraid of the pain of having a baby. You're pregnant, okay? And I'm terrified of how this is going to feel. Am I going to be able to deal with this? And am I going to embarrass myself? I know I have 4 kids, man, and every single time I had one of my kids, I thought about that, okay? So, all right, so what are some things I can do about that? Okay, I can ask about anesthesia. I can talk to my doctor or my midwife, or okay. So that's my plan, is I'm going to talk to the experts about how to make that happen, how to make that not happen to me. Take all that fear and everything. Okay, I'm going to put that in the box. Okay, I've handled things like this before. I've had painful times before. I know I'll be able to get through it. I just need a better plan on how to do it. So I'm going to work that out tonight when I get home from work. Bam, into the box, onto the shelf. Okay, take it out of the front of your mind, make a little plan to, this is when I'm going to deal with it, or this is how I'm going to deal with it. Put it in the box, put it on the shelf. Okay. What I want you to do too is prioritize those boxes. Okay. For example, last Saturday, I had the ribbon of chaos that was weaving its way through my life. I was talking about that the other day. When the outlet blew, and we didn't know if it was the lamp, is it the space heater I was using? Was it the circuit? What went wrong? And during this process of elimination, trying to figure out what was happening, my phone was blowing up and the dogs wanted to go out, and right, okay, prioritization. Okay, so I'm going to deal with the client who's blowing my phone up. I'm going to say, yep, sorry, I can't talk to you right now. I will get back to you. Put her in a box, call her back later. Dogs, priority. That's a priority. Don't want them peeing on the floor. Out you go. Okay, back to figuring out what's wrong. Okay, prioritize those things. Okay, what else? When we carry, I'm looking at my notes, when we carry too much worry in the front of our mind, we become distressed. Okay, nothing is going to get done properly because you're going to be preoccupied with too many different things. Okay. And fear is one of those huge motivators and paralyzers. So it can motivate you, like we said before, to sabotage yourself, or it can motivate you to become paralyzed. Okay. So it can paralyze you. So yeah, you want to deal with that. You want to, okay, I'm going to create a plan in the box. There we go. Okay. Until it's time to handle them. Then what you do is you focus on right now. Okay, what's great? What is something, one of my life mantras, what is something good about right now? Focus on that. Okay. Now you might be thinking, oh, of course, that's what I'm going to do. You know, this is not new information to me. Okay, of course, that makes sense, right? How often do you do it? Because I work with a lot of clients who tell me, oh, I know all about being mindful and prioritizing and stuff like that. But when it all hits the fan, it all goes out the window and they freak out and they're distressed. Okay. You have to practice doing it in order to make it a habit. So even though you might know to do that, make sure you're doing it. Okay. So if you would like to learn some ways, and I've got some really awesome tools that I want to give you to manage that distress and to manage that fear in the moment so that you can keep going forward and focus on right now, I want you to grab my free class. It's called Secret Ways to Stop Stress in Its Tracks. You can get it at www.thequietzonecoaching.com/stop stress. I'm going to put, I'm not sure where you're looking at this, but somewhere in the comments or in the description, I will put a link for you to click on that so you can get it. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful, awesome, amazing day.